Yo, what is going on, YouTube? It's your boy John, aka Spheres here. In today's YouTube video, I'm going to be going over my advanced look settings, or just all of my controller settings for Apex. This is going to make a huge difference for anybody out there that needs any kind of help, or at least a jumping off point, or needs the advanced look settings explained to them, because they are a little bit complicated from when I personally went over them. I was watching YouTube videos and all that. So I've taken all the stuff I've learned, condensed it down in this video. I'm going to try to get it to you guys as fast as humanly possible. I don't want to sit here and talk all day. It should be a short video. Anyway, I'm coming over from Warzone, so I was struggling with the recoil on a lot of these guns, the movement, the sensitivity, all of that kind of stuff coming over, because I wasn't using advanced look settings. I'm telling you guys, this is a night and day difference. With that being said, I'm not necessarily new to Apex, but I played way back in the day before they added these settings in. So I went ahead and finally got everything dialed. If you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like on it if it helps you out at all. If you guys found any value or learned anything, make sure to drop a like. I do recommend, even if you guys aren't going to use these settings, set these up, use this as a jumping off point, and obviously fine tune it for you, because it's not me playing on your account, it's you playing on your account. Everybody is different, everybody has different preferences, specifically when it comes to sensitivity settings, stuff like that. So make sure you guys use this as a jumping off point and then fine tune it. You know, maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't. I'm just saying, give it a go. Make sure to subscribe to the channel with the notifications on. You guys have killed the last Apex video with the support. Without further ado though, guys, I don't want to talk too much. Let's get right into the settings. So here we are on the firing range. For those of you who don't know, you guys are new to the game, or just haven't played, or you know, are from Warzone, you guys can actually load into the firing range. This is a cool mechanic. You guys can test out all the different attachments, all the different guns, things like that. I highly recommend, if you guys are brand new coming in here, this is definitely the place to dial in your settings. So getting into the settings here, the first thing that you guys are going to want to change with the controller is these right here. As you guys can see, the movement, aiming, all of this, it says ALC enabled. That's because if you come down here, ALC stands for advanced look controls. So this is where you're going to be able to adjust these settings. So the first thing that you guys are going to want to go ahead and change and customize is going to be in the button layout. They do have some phenomenal controller presets here. I do recommend though, if you guys are playing on a Scuff or a Scuff Impact, that you guys go ahead and use a customized setup. For those of you who don't know, this is the controller that I play on right here. This is my Scuff Impact. I know the white sticks were not a very good choice. I think I accidentally just reset all my binds, and I did. So basically, the crouch, I go ahead and change this to be R3, so that way it is my right stick. So when I press down on the right stick, as you guys can see on the controller over here, when I press down on the right stick, that is going to be what makes me crouch, which then swaps this with melee. And then the other thing that I change is on the Scuff Impact, you cannot actually bind the up and down on the D-pad. You can only do the left and the right. So I go ahead and change my use shield to left on the D-pad, because I use one of my paddles to heal. So that way when I'm in a gunfight, if I need to, I could just, you know, be sliding around, be on my sticks, and then I can still go ahead without taking my fingers off of the sticks, go ahead and have left on the D-pad. This can also be achieved by, you know, using claw or something like that. But again, I use a Scuff Impact, and I highly recommend it. You know, use code Spheres, check out if you guys would like. I don't change any other buttons. So getting into the stick layout, I use this on default. Most players use this on default. For the interact reload button, you're going to definitely want that on tap. The crouch button, obviously toggle. Aim button, obviously hold. Survival slot button, obviously on, and then trigger dead zones I have on 0, because I use the digital tap triggers, so I don't really have a dead zone as it is. Menu cursor speed, I have mine turned all the way up, so that way I can go ahead and navigate around the menu very quickly. Or, you know, I'm on PC, so I can go ahead and use my mouse like I'm doing here. Getting into the movement and aiming, this is what everybody came for. This is the meat and potatoes of the video. You're going to want to go ahead and go down here. As you guys can see, I typically play a 6.5, and then I do use a per optic sensitivity, but I'm telling you guys are not going to want to go ahead and use these settings. You're going to want to use the advanced look controls. So as you guys can see right here, right off the bat, here are all my advanced look controls. I'm going to go over exactly what they do, what they are, and how you guys can fine tune these. So on the top here, you're going to want to go ahead and click on. And then for the dead zone, I use 5%. For those of you who are coming from Warzone, in our menu, it goes by, you know, from 0.00 to 1.00. So basically, think of the percents on that range. I play on Modern Warfare and on Warzone, I play with a 0.05 dead zone. So on Apex, I already know my controller's dead zone, so I go ahead and put this at a 5%. Basically, if you guys are having stick drift, go ahead and turn this up a little bit. This essentially just is however much you need to move the stick. You see how in the top left here, you see how little I'm moving my stick right now. It's just about how ever so slightly you need to move your stick, basically, so that way you guys don't get stick drift. Obviously, the lower, the more sensitive your controller is going to be to those fine-tuned movements. More of the dead zone is going to be in the middle of the stick, so your stick won't move nearly as much. Getting back in it to the advanced look settings, the outer threshold, I have mine at 5%. As you can see on the right, it says the width of the outer buffer, defining the boundary of max stick input. So basically the dead zone is the middle of the circle. So you have right here, and then you have a circle around it. The outer threshold is going to be essentially like a buffer around the outside ring, telling your controller this is the max output that I want to have. I have mine set at 5%. Again, oh, actually there's a graphic on screen. Okay, so I didn't even see this here. Hunter, blow this up so everybody can understand what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. That is on me. But basically, this is the stick. This is basically what I was just explaining with my hands. So that little blue circle right there, that is the dead zone. So as we go up and down, you can see the dead zone. So the center of the stick is the little plus, and you'd have to move your stick, you know, more and more and more in order for it to take effect. So if I have my dead zone really large, you can look on the left on that controller. You know, right now I am moving my stick. You can see the stick moving. My character's not moving because my dead zone is extremely high. But when I finally get out to that outside of that circle that we just drew, you know, you can see the controller, you see the character start moving. But if I just wiggle the stick around ever so slightly, nothing's going to happen. So that is what dead zone is, kind of in a nutshell. I play with mine on 5% because I like the super fine-tuned movement. And then getting into the outer threshold, that is going to be this little yellow line. So this is what I was explaining before. That little buffer right there, that is basically saying what you want your max stick outer threshold to be. Some people play with it on 0, so you're getting the full range of motion. I've had success with it on 5. I highly recommend that you guys go ahead and you know, mess around with it. I like it at 5. Response curve, now this is something, the response curve deals with this graph right here. Basically, the straighter this line is when you get closer to 0, this is going to be linear input. So if you guys are on the regular settings, it's called linear. We can hop back, and in this game we can go over what they're talking about with linear. Hopefully this doesn't reset all my settings. It doesn't. Amazing. So we have the classic, the steady, the fine aim, high velocity, and the linear. So linear basically is raw input. So whatever you do on your stick, there's going to be raw input. There's not that graph, that little ramping speed. It's not as forgiving. It's exactly what you do on your controller is exactly what's going to happen on the sticks. We have this setting inside of Warzone, so I recommend, again, on Warzone I play on standard. I don't play on anything else, which would be the classic respawn feel. That is what I hope to achieve with my response curve. Obviously you can see in here the fine aim specialized for small gradual movements, high velocity, quick response, very even-handed, and then steady is a balance of firm control and fast aim. Like I said, most players, almost all players that are casuals, you're going to want to play on classic. Myself, I play on classic just because it's what feels best. I know a lot of the pro Apex players and pro Call of Duty players, they play on, you know, linear because they want that raw input feel. But for me, the closer that you get to this is going to be the classic feel. And then the further away that you get from that, it's just going to be less and less responsive. I don't recommend going over, you know, the classic feel. Again, linear. And then you guys go ahead and have the classic, and you guys can see how it all interacts with the graph over here. It's very nice that they add this graphic in because it makes explaining stuff a lot easier. Getting in the per optic sensitivity. So this is essentially when you're using the optic sensitivity, this is something that you're going to want to go ahead and mess with. So when you have a 1x optic or an iron sight, basically this one means that it's true to the turn sensitivity. So when you're in there, there's always aim slowdown no matter what when you ADS. So when I'm turning like this versus like this, it's just the per optic sensitivity. This is something that I recommend that you guys get dialed. Again, coming from Warzone, I have kind of found what is comfortable for me, and that is what I have on the screen here. Again, go ahead, use this as a jumping off point, because for me, I like my, you know, my 3, 4, 6 times, I like them a little bit higher because the gunfights are not super long range in this game. I mean, they are a little bit more at distance, but typically if you knock somebody at distance, it's going to be very, very difficult. You're going to use a lot of ammo, a lot of resources, and you're leaving yourself open to a third party. Also, you're just going to get res. So I don't recommend, you know, really going with super slow sensitivities over range. It's not that important to hit your shots that much over range. Specifically, you know, for me, I play Octane and I play Wraith. So I'm usually very close on the enemies, very up in their face. Obviously, it all depends on preference, all depends on player. Getting into the yaw and the pitch, basically this is your horizontal and vertical look sensitivity when we're talking about Warzone. So the yaw speed, as you can see on the right, says how quickly the view turns left to right. So this is your yaw right here. Just basically how fast I go left and how fast I go right. I usually, when you're doing this and you're testing this, notice how I'm getting aim assist right there. My aim is slowing down because when I do this, I typically try to be able to do a one full 360 with the character. That's from when I'm jumping. That's how I typically dial in my sensitivities in almost all games. Okay, so like I was saying, I was getting aim assist on those people. I know it's a little bit dark up here, but I always try to go from when I jump, can I do one full 360? So I start running forward and then I jump. This, I can make it 3/4 of the way around. And this is what I found works best on Apex. Obviously, this isn't a exact science. Sometimes I get further than times than others. Some, like right there, that felt like I made it the full 360. There, I'm getting close to making a full 360. So that's how I gauge it. I might actually up my yaw speed. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm almost making it all the way around. And that's how I like to get that dialed in. With that being said, in this game, in the advanced look sensitivities, your pitch speed is how quickly your character looks up or down. So I know there's a little bit confusing because you might think, okay, well, if you want to look up or down the same speed, you know, you'd have these even. Well, that's not how it works because, you know, this is on 280 right now. If we go to 350, right, or as close as we can get it, 351, the up or down here, ready? The up or down is way faster than this. Maybe I'm just twisted, but I'm like 95% sure it's way faster. And that messes up my aim a lot. So I go ahead and I actually, as you guys can see here, they have these offset already by a certain amount. So if you want to keep them that specific offset, you can. I personally found at 280, this is where I have the most success. I got to start from 0 so I get the 0 here. So I like it at 280. This is just what I found works the best for me. This seems very similar to this. It seems pretty even. If you guys want to go ahead and turn that up or down, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 clicks away. So I guess I could have adjusted the math. 50 or 350 minus 280. But anyway, so I keep these 7 clicks apart. If I was even to up my left or right, I would up it and then I'd up the pitch speed the same amount. So that way there's still 7 clicks apart. I like to keep them even. Going into the turning extra yaw, if you guys want to play on a super low sensitivity, basically extra yaw is when your stick's at maximum input. So when you're on that outer threshold line right here, when you're out in that outer threshold, your sensitivity just increases. So you could turn faster. So you don't necessarily have to play at a higher sensitivity. You can still play at that low sensitivity, have the extreme fine aim, but also be able to turn around very, very quickly if need be. I personally don't like that because I like to have a more even sensitivity and I like to be able to know how fast I need to turn around, because realistically when I'm getting shot in the back, if I have to do a 180, it's easier to center if I'm at a constant speed rather than something that's going to gradually get faster over time. So I recommend turning this off. Obviously you have the turning extra pitch. Again, I wouldn't recommend having that on, especially for the up or down. I wouldn't recommend it. Again, obviously play around with that. As you guys can see, the turning extra pitch, their recommended setting here is at 0. The little lines back here. For the turning extra yaw, they recommend that you have it around, 220-ish, I would assume. And you can see already how much faster that makes you turn. The turning ramp up time, again, they want you to have this around 35%. This is basically how much time it takes when your stick goes from no to max threshold, like no threshold to max threshold on that outer ring, how fast it's going to take effect. With the extra yaw, I don't recommend. I would leave all of these at 0. This is basically aim acceleration, or it's not aim acceleration because you're not aiming, but that's what it is on controller. If you guys have played any other games with that, and typically I highly recommend in any game you turn that off. You definitely don't want that on. The ADS yaw and the ADS pitch. So this again is going to be when you're ADS, how quickly your character looks left or right or up or down. All right, so getting down here to the yaw and pitch ADS speed, this is how fast your character is going to look left to right and up and down when you're ADS. Obviously, this is going to be impacted down here by your per optic sensitivity. So go ahead and set up this first, your yaw and pitch speed, and then go in your per optic and then get these dialed in once you're comfortable. Obviously start out with the iron sights because that's what you're going to be using mostly, is the 1X and the iron sights, because that's what all guns obviously have by default. And then go ahead and start making your adjustments accordingly for your yaw and pitch speed when you're ADS. So as you guys can see here, these lines right here, these are actually 4 apart versus these being 7 apart. So keep that in mind. Again, I do recommend it, whatever these are, that you keep them around 4 apart, just so that way it is that nice even keel, kind of really dialed in sensitivity. So up and down and left and right, you can see they're pretty even in terms of the sensitivity and how fast they're moving. Going into that extra yaw, pitch, turning, delay, thingamabob, turning yaw, pitch yaw, all that stuff, it's the same as this. I do recommend that you guys turn, especially on your ADS, turn these down. There's no point, at no point do you want when you're ADS, there's no point do you want your sensitivity to just get randomly faster or slower when you hit that outer threshold. Your target compensation, I have this on. It influences the look input when aiming at targets. This is aim assist in this game. It's called target compensation. So I definitely recommend keeping this on unless you want to go, you know, super freaky, super demon mode, and go ahead and turn it off and test your luck. Melee compensation, basically when you have your fist out, if you're going to get aim assist on these characters, like, well, I'm assuming it's within, yeah, it's within a certain range. So if you're close enough to the character, you'll get a little bit of that aim assist. You can see I'm not even touching my right stick. You can see my hands up in the air. You see on my controller over that way, I'm not touching my right stick. This is that melee compensation. You definitely want to leave that on, especially punching in this game, especially off the start, is pretty crazy. So the movement dead zone, I have this on low. So this is the dead zone for your left stick. So the advanced look controls deal everything with the right side of your controller and your right stick. These ones go ahead and deal with the left side of your stick. So the movement dead zone, you definitely want it on small so you can make the fine-tuned movements. Your vibration, I have mine off. I don't even have rumble packs inside of my controller. And then inverted look, I go ahead and play this with off as well. Aside from that, people are probably going to ask me what field of view I'm playing on. I am playing on 110. The FOV ability scanning, I go ahead and disable this, so that way, you know, when I have my abilities, I know exactly how fast I'm moving. And then the sprint view shake, obviously turn that on minimal. You're definitely not going to want that on. Anything to decrease your screen moving around, definitely, you know, minimize that as much as possible. It's going to help you see further, see more enemies. These are my video settings if you guys want to go ahead and slow it down and check these out, because I know I'm probably going to get some questions on that. My audio settings are over here as well. And then getting into the gameplay, the interact prompt style, I have it on default because I like having the little on-screen hints and stuff like that because I am newer to this game. Button hints I do turn off because I know the buttons. I like the crosshair damage with the shield. Damage numbers, I like them to stack. Ping opacity, I like the default. I don't really see the pings that much in this game, so I definitely recommend it. Basically, the kill feed, I leave that on for sure. I do play with my mini-map rotation off. I have a lot of people asking me why or how I like that. That's just personally how I like to play, so I leave my mini-map rotation off. Weapon cycling on empty, definitely turn that on. When you run out of ammo, your character is going to automatically switch. Auto attack sprint, this is going to help you out, especially on controller. You definitely want this to have better movement. It makes the slide canceling and the b-hopping and all that kind of stuff. It makes it 1,000 times easier. Definitely recommend. I have this off. I don't really use it, obviously, because I'm using auto sprint. The jetpack control, obviously, you're going to want to toggle it so you don't have to use the entire jetpack in one go. Incoming damage feedback, you're going to want to turn this to 3D, because if it's not 3D, you're not going to get as much information. When it is 3D, it gives you a little arrow precisely pointing to where you were shot from. Whereas if you guys go ahead with the 2D, it gives you that typical Call of Duty, you know, the line. It's basically on a circle, but it's a line. And as you turn, the line rotates. The 3D will tell you exactly where it is. Obviously, you could go ahead and do both if you want to see the difference. Taking damage, close the death boxes and crafting menu. Oh, basically, if you get shot, this is going to go ahead and get you out of the death box. That's something that you want to have on, because as soon as you get shot, you're probably going to want to dash away. Hop up, pop up. Basically, this will show when the hop up is attached to the weapon. Definitely leave that on. I have stream mode off, anonymous mode off. Usage sharing, I have that enabled. Performance display, you want that on if you're on PC. This basically is what gives me my frames per second or all that stuff. That's right here. Club invites, I have on. Nothing with any of these settings. I'm not going to go into my keyboard settings because I don't know any of this. I have no idea anything about this. I'm a controller player through and through. Can't play keyboard or mouse at all. So that's that. Anyway, guys, I hope that this video helped you. If it did, if you learned something, or if you guys have any other recommendations in terms of settings or anything of that nature, please let me know in the comment section down below. Like I said, I'm kind of new to this game. These are just my settings. I've been asked a million times what I recommend to run, and this is what I do recommend to run. This is what I'm using. I'm not changing it up. Once you set your sensitivity, you know, once you get it fine-tuned in the firing range, try not to change it. The more that you play with the sensitivity, the better off that you're going to be, the more dialed, the muscle memory is going to build, you know, the hand-eye coordination, all that kind of stuff is going to get better. The more you switch it up, the more you're going to struggle. play what is comfortable to you. High sense, low sense, it doesn't matter. Whatever works for you is what works for you. Again, these are just the best settings for me, and this is the jumping off point that I recommend for you guys. If you guys haven't already dropped a like for the YouTube algorithm, I'd very much appreciate that. You guys freaking killed it on the first video. So go ahead, drop a like, drop a comment. If you guys, just for the algorithm, go ahead, type for the algorithm down below if you guys want. Subscribe if you guys are brand new around here. Without further ado, guys, I'll catch y'all in the next video.